so I can share that. So the title of this Zoom presentation is How Sweet It Isn't, Sugar and Our Health. So before we jump into things, I wanted to play just a snippet of a little song. I think most of you will probably remember this, but give me a second to cue it up. Okay. Name that tune.
Oh,
Oh, honey, honey.
You'll be singing this all night.
girl, and you got me wanting you.
Reminds me of when I was a little kid.
Yeah. I
I was in high
this,
school.
I have this little cardboard record from the back of a cereal box. I think it was Sugar Smack cereal. And
Oh, yeah.
I still have it. But, you know, back then, we used to think that we used to associate added sugar with primarily tooth decay and maybe a little bit with not so healthy or with weight gain. But, you know, we're in a different space now where we understand that excess sugar is so much more than cavities. And so that is one of the reasons why I've made it a focus here tonight. And I've made it, actually, it was a focus for an entire month of our coaching conversations in the month of October, and people have written books about it. And, you know, it's just such an important health topic. So I'm so glad that you're here to talk about it. I have a couple of Y-powered clients in the Zoom room here. So welcome to them, and welcome to you who don't know me yet. So it is a pleasure to be here, and thank you for making time for this. I know there's always demands on people's time. So, you know, this sugar overload, when we think about, like in this image that's here, of course, everybody knows that excess sugar comes in the form of cake and candy and ice cream and cookies. That's pretty obvious. But what we're learning more and more is that added sugar can really be overloaded in things that we think of as healthy. Yogurts, granolas, and of course, sugary drinks are a major source of sugar in many, many people's diets. So what we want to do ideally is just build greater awareness around those kinds of things. And really any kind of processed food that we might be eating is very likely to be hiding excess added sugar. And before we dive more into this topic tonight, I do want to clarify for everybody that added sugar, in whatever form it might be in, is what's detrimental to our health. Natural sugar, and what I mean by that is sugar that comes from fruit, is not detrimental to our health. And I think that there's been a lot of confusion around that, especially because of the popularity of the keto diet, which is so carbohydrate focused. I know, for example, someone who was on the keto diet for a couple of years, and they told me they hadn't eaten any fruit for that period of time. And I worried that they might like have scurvy or something. But it's, you know, they had it in their head that they shouldn't be eating fruit. And I, oh my goodness, please, please reconsider that, because it really is not healthy not to have fruit in your diet. It's such a great source of nutrients. So added sugar, detrimental. Natural sugars, good. The recommendation is 2 servings a day. So when we want to push back on the added sugar, there's lots of different ways we can do that, and we're going to get into that tonight. But before we dive deeper, I want to understand where you all are. And some of you, I know, of course, others are new, but I put together a little poll and some questions, and we can do this anonymously. There's a feature here, but the questions are, or the question is, what concerns you most about sugar? Because I just kind of want to take a pulse check. Is it weight gain or controlling your weight relative to sugar? Is it about diabetes? How sugar affects your mood or your sleep? Is it inflammation and heart disease? Because we know sugar is linked to those things. Or maybe it's all of these things. So let me pull up this handy dandy feature of Zoom, and you can jump in and anonymously, whoops, hold on, that's the second question. Hold on. Let me scroll back here. I'm jumping ahead. Technology. One moment. Oh no. Let me end this and go back. Apologies. Let me try this one more time. It worked when I tested it. Okay.
It's like
Questions just jumped around.
it's like
So-
taking your child to the doctor. You know, they're terribly sick until you get there, and then it's
Exactly.
fine. I'm okay.
All right. So our question number 1 is actually number 2 here. So hopefully you can jump in. Can you guys see that? What concerns you most about sugar? All right. Can you jump in there and answer that?
I don't see it.
The poll's not up.
Yeah.
Just the purple pages.
All right. Well, if you guys are comfortable, just jump in and tell me where you are. Just like
B,
we're not that big of a group.
Say
Joyce, what's
B.
yours?
B.
B, the diabetes part. Okay.
B and
Cindy, how about
D
B.
and D
Okay. Cindy, what was
and
yours?
A.
Okay. Terry, how about you?
I would say all of them. I mean,
All of them?
I would be concerned about all of them.
Okay. What was yours, Kim?
E, all of these.
Okay. Jean, what's yours?
E, all of the above.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I commend you all for, looking at that and considering, 'cause all of these are really concerning. And that's why we're here. I mean, some can certainly pop up at different times for greater concern than others. So I'm going to go through this quickly because everybody knows me here except Terry. So I'll just tell you who I am, since I know a little bit about you guys now and what concerns you. But I'm Coach Gail, and I am a certified health coach, personal fitness trainer, behavior change specialist, and whole health coach. And I've been doing this work for 9 years now. My company is Y Powered Health Coaching. And what I do is, is empower women in midlife to be more proactive and intentional with their lifestyle behaviors, their habits. And I help them push back on the forces that invite us to be unhealthy. And, because there's so many in life, the focus for me is the habits and the mindset. We focus on whole health, whole foods, stress management, and getting and staying more physically active and getting in balance. And so we say no to diet gimmicks and anything extreme. So the focus generally for a lot of people is weight loss, but really it's bigger than that. It's about getting things into a better, more balanced place. So it's about energy and health, and weight loss is generally the outcome for most people. Pushing back and being more intentional. And really it's about lessening our likelihood of having that catastrophic wake-up call later in life, the ones that we think we're never going to have, where the doctor says, you have this illness, or, when we have that sudden, stroke or whatever that no one ever wants to face. So the more intentional we are, the fewer limits we have as we age. So that's what I do. And I just love empowering women to be healthier. So back to the topic, you know, when it comes to sugar and any kind of change journey, building awareness is the first step, being more intentional. And I wanted to share some tips about that. And the number one thing that we can do around sugar is become an avid label reader. And, you know, good health really starts in the grocery store and, or, you know, at the farmer's market, or if you're gardening, but most people are getting their food from grocery stores, or maybe it's from, you know, when they're ordering on Instacart or something like that. But really slowing down and taking the time to read labels is it's such a positive investment. And what we need to do is, number one, ignore everything that's on the front label of any food package, because it's almost certainly marketing hype and hyperbole. So what we need to do is look at the back of food packaging and really look at the nutrition labeling. How long is the ingredient list? Is it mostly pronounceable things? And you know, what is the food comprised of? I mean, the best and healthiest food doesn't even have a label at all, right? So there's nothing to even decipher. But if there is a label, you know, what's in it? How are we fueling our body? Because the better fuel we put in, the better we're going to feel. You know, I encourage everybody to shop the perimeter of the grocery store where the live food tends to be, the perishable stuff, the stuff without the chemicals and the preservatives. And I know it sounds silly, and I always chuckle, and most people do when I say it, but I think I encourage people to think of the packaged and canned foods in the center aisles as little coffins for dead food, because it kind of is. But that live perishable food, that's what keeps us alive. So the more we slow down, care about what we're eating, make that time to understand what's in our food, the healthier we're going to be. So there's a couple of really important numbers to know, especially in the quest to take in less added sugar. One of them is, here comes Dana coming back here. The first important number to know is 7 grams per serving. And there's an asterisk on the per serving part, because this is a dual equation here. So 7 grams of sugar per serving is kind of the tipping point when you're considering if something is excessively sugary or not. So if it's more than 7, if you're comparing products, if you like, let's say you're trying to find a healthier granola bar. And this is a place that, you know, we think of granola and granola bars as something healthy. Well, not necessarily. So let's say you pick up a package and one says it has 15 grams of sugar and one says it has 7. Well, go with the 7, right? But you're probably going to be hard pressed to find one that even has 7. But that 7 that's anything over 7 is considered going kind of overboard on the sugar. But the per serving thing, that's what you really have to pay attention to. And here's why. There's no standardization on serving size. Food manufacturers pretty much make it up themselves. So a really good example? Jean or Joyce, do you know one from our conversations about this? Kim, you know what I'm talking about?
Per serving, you mean?
Yeah. Like,
Well, I know regular sodas. I don't know the numbers because I don't drink that stuff, but it lists the amount of sugar, but it's only for like half a can.
right. Yeah. Who drinks a half a can of soda?
Yeah,
Another really good example is ice cream.
yeah.
If you look, most ice creams, it'll tell you a serving is like a half a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Who eats a half a cup of ice cream?
Right.
So you really have to evaluate, if you could easily pick up an ice cream and say, oh, it's only 7 grams of sugar per serving. But if it says it's a half a cup of half a cup is a serving, you say, wait a second, that's not realistic. I'm not going to eat a half a cup. Then you have to double that hit of sugar. So reality is you're probably going to get 14. So you have to, do the math there and know. So that's something to consider whenever you're comparing, because, one ice cream could be half a cup, a serving, and another one could be a cup. So, you really have to be a advocate and savvy consumer here when you're reading labels. That's my point. Welcome back, Dana. I'm glad you were able to jump back in. We're just going through ways to build awareness about how much sugar we're actually taking in and ways to push back on how much we're getting.
Okay.
So the recommended amount per day for women, 6 teaspoons, which is 24 grams. So when you look at labels, it's you're never going to see it listed as teaspoons, but that's just a visual reference point for you all. It'll always be listed as grams, but it's just so you kind of can have that visual. For men, it's since they tend to be larger, it's 9 teaspoons a day. But also as another reference point here, the typical American gets 22 teaspoons a day. So we're the gap between what's a healthy maximum, 6, and what most people are getting, 22, is huge. And most people have no idea that they're so far over where they should be. So just to give you another perspective, that's on a daily basis. The average American in a month consumes more than 10 pounds of added sugar. Those 5-pound bags of sugar you see in the grocery store? 2 of those in 30 days.
Yuck.
Yeah.
130 pounds a year. That's astounding, really. Our bodies just were not made to process that. It's, I think, not a surprise that there are currently 37 million adults who have diabetes, and 96 million, 1 in 3 American adults, are pre-diabetic right now. 1 in 3, and many of them do not know it. Many are in an insulin resistant state and don't know. So this is why we need to always be vigilant and aware of how much we're taking in. You can drink one of those like 20-ounce sodas and exceed that 24 grams of sugar just in one drink. So label reading is your friend. So tip number 3, and I love this rule, and it's probably because I love to cook, but I encourage you to embrace it. You know, we don't have to give up sweet things. You know, food and sweet. I have a sweet tooth. And this is one of the reasons why I made this cookbook that I'm going to share with you all. I don't want to give up sweet things, but, you know, we can do it differently. We can do it better. We can do it more in a healthy way. We don't have to walk around feeling deprived and be going, oh, I can't have that, you know. But here's my tip. Instead of um, saying I can't, or you know, something similar, bake for yourself, take charge, and you know, you can make it a joyful experience. Yeah, there's labor involved, but here's what you can do. You can make healthy substitutions, and instead of dumping a bunch of added sugar into recipes, you can do, and you'll see it in the recipe book that I give you, you can use natural sugars from things like bananas and dates and applesauce and get the same sweet effect. And you don't even know that, you know, it's not added sugar, and you don't have the detrimental effect to your health. It's really a wonderful thing because you get that sweet satisfaction without all the negativity, the guilt, and the yucky stuff. And the other thing that you can do, if you don't make those shifts, you know, if you still are using regular sugar, is you can at least cut it back. So, for example, in some of these recipes, you'll see I used like only 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, for example. So you can experiment, like, you know, maybe a recipe will call for a 1/4 cup of syrup. Just scale it back. So you're in charge, and you can adjust to your sweetness preference. And um, you know, when you buy baked things, you have no idea how much they probably put in there. And but if you're doing it yourself, you can adjust. So those are my top tips. Yes, Cindy.
I was just gonna say, I like to bake and I've been baking for years, and
Uh-huh.
there's a cookbook called The Good Food Cookbook by Jane Brody. She was a longtime health and science writer for the New York Times, and she uses yogurt and applesauce in her baking. And sometimes people over the years, people have given me recipes, let's say pumpkin bread, and it will call for a cup of sugar. And I've learned over time, you can cut that back to a half a cup, and it doesn't affect the taste at all, or the moisture, or the final result of it. And I've told people, oh, I cut the sugar back half of what it said, and people would be surprised.
That's wonderful. I will have to check that cookbook out. I'm always looking for
It came out in the 80s.
Okay.
It's a really good cookbook because she's one of the early proponents of healthy eating.
Wonderful. Yeah.
What was her name?
Jane Brody, Brody. I believe she's retired.
Yeah.
I think she's in her 80s now, but
Yeah.
she doesn't look it, but she's very fit and
Yeah,
just
I do
healthy.
remember that name. So the whole point here really is the more aware we are, the more intentional we can be with our sugar consumption, but really all of our habits. So another poll for you guys. When we think about our relationship with sugar, where do you see yourself? I came up with a couple of possibilities. We're besties. It's complicated. Some people feel like they have a love-hate relationship, whether it's with sugar or with food, or oh my God, I so need to break things off. Or maybe you're just like in a help kind of situation. Where do you guys think you are?
I don't eat sugar.
You don't?
No, the only time I buy a bag of sugar is in the summertime and I use it to feed, make up nectar for the hummingbird feeders.
Uh-huh.
But that's the only time it's in the house.
That's
I
cool.
don't need it.
Okay, so you're reading labels and
I
if it's
I don't buy I don't eat very much processed food.
okay,
Uh, Occasionally I'll buy something that's, like in a can or a box or something, but not
Okay.
often.
that's awesome. Good for you, Terry. How about you, Dana? Where are you with things?
Um, I'm learning.
Okay.
I'm learning how to count everything. As far as I try to stay away from sugar, but I don't know. I'm not 100% educated on what has sugars and what doesn't have sugars and what to look for and not to look for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it comes in 50 different forms
Mm-hmm.
or 50 different names. It's a process, a learning process for sure.
Right.
So maybe you're in the it's complicated.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. How about you, Cindy?
I'm not as disciplined as Terry. I'm a B and a C. Sometimes I cook and eat really well, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of discipline to do it 100% of the time. And I know that people who do that, once you get past the first couple of weeks, your body adjusts and you don't crave sugar the way you did when you did more of it. But I would say that I'm inconsistent. Sometimes I do just stellar and sometimes I don't.
Well, I think any of us can relate to that, really. I'll share a quick story about that. My husband bought these chocolate or cocoa covered quinoa. I mean, basically they look like cookies from Costco recently. And they went pretty fast. They were 7 grams for a serving, 5 in a serving. And we were at Costco the other day and he said, "Oh, they have those. Should we get them?" And I said, "No, do not buy those again. If you do not tell me because they just went too fast." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm glad to know you're human." I mean, they were just, you know, they were so good. But they had the halo effect because they were, they were quinoa, but they were just they just got a little bit too much sugar and they were cocoa and they were hard to stop eating. So, I said, just don't buy them. So that was my solution. But yeah. Anyway, Jean or Joyce, you want to share about where you are?
5 years ago, sugar and I were not just besties, but sugar was my primary coping strategy. Now it's completely different. I mean, it's not that I don't eat sugar, period, but some days I do, some days I don't, and it's not the same amount. Certainly, it may be 3 or 4 grams in a whole day, as opposed to I'm sure one of those 88 did you say 88 grams or 88 teaspoons a day is typical?
22 is the average, 22 teaspoons.
Oh, yeah. But I was probably eating at least double that every day. I mean, I had to have something sweet in the house all the time. Now there's some stuff that actually is, I think, from Christmas a couple of years ago that I just don't even think about. I haven't gotten rid of it. I don't know why. It's kind of fun to look at it and think, I don't need to eat you anymore. But yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm actually even thinner than that picture on the right now.
You're 130,
Amazing.
how many pounds now? 143 down?
Probably more, I don't have it in front of me, but probably more like 139 to 140, somewhere in there.
Wow.
Jean gave me permission to share this before photo of her. You've come so far.
Yeah.
Man,
It's
oh man.
almost hard for me to believe that I was ever that person on the left.
Doesn't even look like you, really.
I was gonna say, that's not Jean.
It was 5 years ago.
Incredible. Thanks for sharing your inspiration, Jean.
Sure.
Amazing. All right, let me back up here a second. So all of these reasons are played into me wanting to create this cookbook, which I will share with you all. You know, my sweet tooth and not wanting fake foods, not wanting chemicals in my diet. You know, there are so many artificial sweeteners out there, which, you know, it was just a few months ago that the World Health Organization came out with a pretty bold statement. I don't know if you all saw it, but they basically said no to all of them. They, including the plant-based ones, stevia included. They said they do not support our health. They do not help us with weight loss, and we shouldn't be using them. And, you know, my focus for a long time has been pushing back on processed foods. So I put this collection together of whole foods that are really simple recipes. And I wanted to just give you a glimpse of what's inside, but really this statement here, I think, sums up my whole approach to wellness and relative to food, is that we are what we eat. And as much as possible, if we can not be fast, easy, or fake, that is in support of our health. And whether we're talking about desserts or anything else, not that we can never have processed foods. I mean, what we're doing most of the time is what matters most with our health. But I think this is a pretty good axiom to follow. So just a couple of photos from the recipe book. They're all really simple recipes, not very many ingredients. Some of them are even no bake recipes. But I have to tell you, there are a few in there, like the Snickers remade. It's only 3 ingredients. I had to put this one down in my downstairs freezer because it was really kind of one of those borderline too good things. But I hope you all enjoy them. Fig Newtons, that was my favorite cookie when I was growing up. So, but it's a remake with oat and almond flour. Anyway, I hope you really like it. And I'll, after this Zoom, I'll share the link to it by email. So there's Jean again. She has so much to be proud of. You all do.
Yes.
So I do want to share before we sign off, and I will make time for some questions too, because I know I've been doing a lot of talking here, but whether it's for you or someone that you might know who might be struggling with sugar or just any wellness habits, I just wanted to let you all know that I am in a week or so going to be offering a 30-day Kickstart sugar reduction coaching group. And for a couple of reasons besides what we've already talked about, and just a quick couple of points about what that's going to be like. It's going to be 4 weeks. I'm going to be offering 45-minute live coaching on Zoom. There's going to be a group app to support people in between. It's going to be $25 a week. So it's going to be a really easy, low commitment, low cost way to get started, give people a way to understand what it's like working with me as a coach. We're going to get started October 10th. And it's either going to be midday or evening, depending on who's interested in it. So if you or anyone you know might want to jump into it, get in touch. So I'm excited to do it. I had a person do a Kickstarter program with me back in January, and she's not here tonight, but I see her every now and again, and every time I see her, she's like, she gives me an update. You know, you can't believe it. I'm still losing weight. She lost maybe 5 pounds in that first month, but I think she's like 15, 20 pounds down now, and she's still going strong. And she just did that 30 days with me. So anyway, sometimes getting started is the hardest part, right, Jean?
Oh, God, yeah. Certainly for me, it was.
So that's what that group is going to be about.
I have a question. I was gonna ask what
Yeah.
Jean's motivation was when she got
Oh.
started. What made her start to be successful?
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, I was pushing 300 pounds. For another, I had earlier in the year had knee surgery I had torn a meniscus, and the surgeon told my daughter as I was coming out of anesthesia that if I didn't lose weight, I'd have to have a full knee replacement. And even though I was supposed to be fully healed within, I don't know, a week or so of the surgery, several months later, I was still having trouble walking and in a lot of pain. And I heard about one of Gail's groups through another friend who's actually still in one of Gail's groups with me. And I went, and I had done diets all my life. I had, I don't know how many years I would wake up every day, and my first thought was, oh, I am so fat. I've got to do something. And my second thought was, I want to make sure I have some sweet treats in the house because that's what I did to cope. And I just knew that wasn't sustainable. I was in my early 60s, and I wanted to be around longer. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to get on an airplane and not have to use a seatbelt extender. I wanted to not be concerned that either my butt or my belly were hitting somebody when I was walking in between tables in a restaurant. So there were a lot of motivations for me. And when I first joined, I had done diets so many times, and I'd maybe succeed and then of course fail and gain even more weight. So I didn't have a lot of faith that it would work when I first joined Gail's group. And it took me a while to really commit to it. And I did, and I started losing. And of course, once you start doing that, and also the support from the group was tremendously powerful for me, the accountability and support from the group. And I just kind of kept going and started feeling better. I had even actually considered, weight loss medicine or surgery, but I did research on those, and they all come with significant risks. And as I kept working with Gail, it was kind of like, well, there are absolutely no risks to eating healthier and exercising and changing my mindset. And so, it was all benefit and no risk. And it did take time. I mean, I still have a little bit I want to lose. And like I said, I started in 2018 with a year off in 2020 for COVID. But, you know, it takes time, and cutting down on the amount of sugar that I eat has taken time. But something funny I've realized is that things that didn't taste sweet to me before or weren't that satisfying, now I really taste them. Even romaine lettuce to me now tastes sweet. And of course, it never did
Reorient
before.
Yeah, you
Huh?
reorient your taste buds.
Very much so. Very much so. And now if I do eat something sweet, I can feel that sugar rush. And you know, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. So now I have to have lots of fruits and vegetables in the house, as opposed to cakes and cookies and candy, and especially chocolate. I was a huge chocolate addict, and now I'm a much bigger vegetable addict. I'll live with that.
Thank you
So,
for sharing.
Thank
That's,
you.
Very powerful.
I hope that answered your question. It was a
Oh.
long answer to
It
a
was
short question.
very honest, courageous.
Thank you.
So the slide that you guys can see here, Together We Can, is I just wanted to share it because it's a motto that we kind of chant at the end of our group coaching sessions. I really believe that, well, I've seen over the 9 years that I've done coaching that together we really do go further. There's a African proverb that says, alone we can go faster, but together we can go further. And I've really seen that to be true over the years. But if anybody else has questions, I'm happy to answer them, whether it's about sugar or anything related. Otherwise, we can say good evening to each other. I really appreciate you all being here to share in this, and I hope you've gotten some good inspiration and tips about sugar and pushing back on how much you might be taking in a day. There is a in the recipe booklet, there's a guidance on healthy daily minimums and maximums for sugar, fiber, sleep, movement, other things. So you'll find that in there as well.
Great. Thank you.
Well, all right. Well, I appreciate everybody being here.
Thank
And,
you.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
everybody have a good rest of your night.
You too.
And,
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks
Bye.
again.
Thanks for the
Bye.
recipe.
yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.